Otakuology Podcast with Otaku Mike Engine Graves.
Hello and welcome back to the Otakuology Podcast. I'm your host, Otaku Mike. With me, as always, is my favorite choom, Jen, aka my heterosexual life partner, aka the best cyberpunk in town. Today,
Can I tell you something about that real quick?
What?
So, I actually put it in your title when you call me. It has choom in it.
Today, we are covering Cyberpunk Edgerunners, episodes 5 and 6. All eyes on me and Girl on Fire is what we're covering today.
Woo woo.
Can you believe we're halfway done with this show?
Dude, I cannot believe we're halfway
done. I expected it to be longer, but it doesn't feel like it.
It doesn't. It does not. And it's weird how some of the other shows that we've covered, and we've watched like the entire thing when we've covered it, and how much progress this show makes as you watch it.
I mean, most definitely this show has very good character development.
Yeah. Now, and I will say, because a lot of people won't want to do it, but I really feel like how we're covering it bi-weekly actually does help it feel more prolonged, because I feel like, you know, the gang's been together up for the Edgerunners for like longer than it actually has in the anime, just because of how long we've actually been covering it.
Well, I think there is eventually like some sort of time skip, or there's like a certain amount of time in between, like when we get to like episode 3 and then like episode 4. Like, I know there is some time because, you know, we get the montage and stuff. So I don't know exactly how much time has passed, but time has passed.
Yeah. Well, and that's all in the same episode, though. You know?
Yeah.
I did watch a little bit into episode 7, and we do have a pretty good time skip. Like, you watch it, the events that happen at episode 6, and when you get into episode 7, there is a clear time skip, and I think it's like a time skip of about 6 months or to a year. So I can't wait till you get to watch like the first 15 minutes of that. Like, I feel like
I actually had that spoiled for me on accident.
Really?
So I did know that was going to happen.
Hold on. Listen here, you motherfuckers. If you spoil anything for this for Mike ever again, I will hunt you down. Okay.
I did. I was watching a video and it got spoiled for me. Like, I was watching like a Cyberpunk, like, did you know video or something.
Oh no.
or it was like something like, is David still alive or something? So I had it kind of spoiled for me a little bit.
Oh man. See, besides like what we know in the game, I am trying to avoid any spoilers for this or Delicious in Dungeon.
Okay.
Like, at all. And I'm like, so I'll see the art and I'll be like, oh cool, you know, and I'll be like, oh, there's a chat room for this? Yeah, steer clear. Mayday, get out of here.
Yeah, so, it was just like a random video I clicked on one time and I was like, whoop, I guess I got spoiled a little bit. So I don't know the whole story. I only know like a snippet of it type of thing.
Yeah. Well, when we get ready to cover 7 and 8, like I definitely cannot wait. Like I said, clear time skip. So, but getting back into episode 5, we how did it start? Drawing a blank at the current, but oh yeah, so this is the one with the JK villain guy.
Yeah. Do you remember what his name is? His name is, well, we'll find him out later. His name is, what was his name? Jimmy Kurosaki.
Yes.
And I remember,
which the cool thing is, and you got to pay close attention to it, is from episode 1 when we saw the brain dance from the Cyber Psycho, it was actually one of Jimmy's that he made.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, for everybody out there that's listening, I knew you were smart enough to get that.
We let's be honest. We had a brain fart. The episode starts out with Maine and David talking. They're talking about like what they're going to do next, and Kiwi is actually diving into.
Before that, they bring up about the name. You know the name because I always get it. Pilar.
Yeah, Pilar's hands.
They bring up Pilar's hands, and if David would like Pilar's hands, he's like, no, I don't want those hands. Like, look at those fingers and like what my body would look like with those hands. Like,
yeah, because they
would not fit.
They were really techie hands.
Yeah, and the fingers are long. Like,
yeah,
but he looks over at Maine's and says, you know, there are some that I would want to take. Yeah, and he was like, well, if you man was like, hey, you know, if you want these, you can have these after I die. After I flatline.
After I flatline.
I'm just gonna say I feel like this was the foreshadow part of episode 6. Which I was like, I would have preferred if like somehow we covered like episode 4 and 5 and then that happened. Because 5 and 6 was like, this is too soon. Too soon. Yeah. After making that joke, like,
but I love Maine and David's relationship in this scene. Like, yes. Maine is very much sort of like the father figure that David never had, in a sense, in a weird sense, you know. And they're talking about how you need to get some chrome, you know, you got to get that chrome, you know. They're talking, and then Maine finds out that David finally lost his virginity to Lucy because he's like, man, you're over acting different here, man. What's going on?
I don't think I caught that.
Yeah. So they're sitting on the couch, and he's like, hey, there's something different about you. You got laid, didn't you? All right, my man.
I don't think I caught
that. Yeah. Because David was kind of acting different. And we see like Kiwi, she's going through like the data from the car to try to find Tanaka, which is the guy that they're trying to go after to get like this information that Faraday needs. And we see her in the thing. She gets out. I love this scene where she gets out and she's like butt ass naked. And she's got like this like half mask on her face. She's just smoking a cigarette through her mask. And she's like, hey, what did I miss? You know? And they're both just like, did she just really get out of the tub? Just
oh my god, yeah, right.
But
her color scheme is like
it's cool,
crazy.
It's cool,
crazy.
She's got like the pink outline for the tech all over her body. She's got like pink nipples.
No, they're purple.
They're purple. Okay, they're like a pinkish
like
purple,
a purple or a blue. Like
okay,
like it stood out. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then, like, she sits down like there's nothing going on, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, have we seen Kiwi before? Like, I'm so confused.
We've seen Kiwi in bits and parts of the show so far. She's kind of somewhat a background character.
Yeah.
In a sense, to Maine's group. But this is, like, the first real time, like...
Well... And I can't remember if it's at the end of this episode or into the next one where her mask comes off and it's like empty.
Yeah, she doesn't have a mouth.
Yeah, that was freaky.
That's in the next episode.
What?
Yeah, that's in the next episode.
Yeah.
But they're talking and they're like, oh yeah, no, I got the data. And so they figure out like, you know, Tanaka's like into like these weird brain dances that are like basically snuff films. And he finds out that like this is the same guy. The guy who makes the brain dance is Jimmy. Is the same. He's the one that David used at the very beginning,
right,
of this series. And his are
Right.
highly sought after. Like they take off like pain inhibitors and sensories and stuff like that. Like they're supposedly like top of the line, like snuff films.
Yeah.
You know, because I think BDs are like either you're killing a lot of people or you're like having like sex with somebody or something. You know, that's what I gather.
Yeah.
You know, something horrible's happening or something really good's happening. I don't know.
Yeah, and he leans more into the, what do they call them?
Cyber psychos.
It's not smut. It's
like a snuff film.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
Yeah, like you just watching people die,
Yeah.
but he makes them to where he gets them from the cyber psychos, and we learn that later on in this as well.
Well, and so, whenever they decide that they're going to get him, I kind of feel like he can almost like control people's bodies.
What
Like
do you
he stages them.
That
Because like after he like does the little thing and like, which his body mechanics is pretty crazy because he's got the eyes in the back of his head.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know if he stages anything like that, but they do form a plan to basically get Jimmy, and they're gonna like get him at this really high end like restaurant because he's like one of the best BD editors around.
Yeah.
And so they just put two and two together, or David puts two and two together. Oh, I know this guy. I kind of know this guy because I'm secretly a fan. I've kind of peddled his stuff before.
This is the funny part to me, like how all these people don't know, and then David's like rattling it off.
Like, yeah, blah, 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 I know who this is.
It's kind of like people talking about like these high-end superheroes, and then you're like, there's like a B or a C rank hero that's pretty good, and you bring it up, and you're like, everybody's like, who is that? Who are you talking about?
Yeah, like I know Hardware.
Yeah.
Hardware's amazing.
So it was
like, who?
Just funny. Yeah, it's just funny, like David, like, bringing that out, and you're like, what?
Yeah. And it's funny when we see them like going to meet Jimmy, where he's like, oh yeah, can I shake your hand? He's like, no, you're not gonna shake my hand. And they had it all set up perfectly, but they didn't know Jimmy had eyes in the back of his fucking head.
Yeah, he's got 3 of them.
And he like sets off this EMP device, which flatlines, not only flatlines, but like knocks everybody out. And they're like, what's going on? And turns out that like they take David, or he takes David.
Yeah, Jimmy takes it. This is the part that I was just talking to you about, that I think he stages part of it because, David was sitting there and the police officers were walking up and he had the gun in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And David acted like he was going to try and drop it, and then he ended up shooting at him.
Yeah.
And I think what it is that Jimmy has him under some kind of like mind control, or like not his mind, but his body.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So he did that, and then whenever he ran into the other cop, he shot him and killed him. And I'm like, I don't really feel like David would do that.
Well, that was David was living the brain dance. We'll get to that point. So,
well, then I must have missed that part too.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I thought David was actually doing that.
David was living the brain dance that we see at the very beginning. He was rewatching it.
Yeah,
and we see like Jimmy has him hooked up to the device and stuff, and David wakes up in this room filled with dead bodies, and like, oh my god, there he is over there. They got him, and the police go after David, and David kills him. Like he unknowingly kills him. Like the gun just starts going off, and so he has no control over it. But we're seeing David's reactions as he's basically experiencing this.
Yeah,
and that's probably why you were a little confused. Because
I agree with that.
I don't know 100% if it came off that way. Because when I first watched it, I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And then it clicked to me, "Oh, this is just the part of the brain dance that we didn't see, because we only saw the last part of it."
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely confused.
But I have to say that mantis blade that pops out of David when he cuts off the cop's head, that thing was fucking feel like it was fucking too big for his arm.
Dude, I thought David, he had like worked on him and got him that upgrade. And I was like,
No.
what?
No, David only has like the lungs, I believe, for an upgrade and the Sand Devastator.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have anything else.
So, small question.
Okay.
This goes with the game. Whenever you did your opening storyline, did you fight guys with those type of claws?
Yeah, at one point you do. Like occasionally you can find the mantis claws and people
Okay.
have the mantis claws.
Okay. I haven't
the
found
game.
anybody, but the only time I've seen this is whenever you're in the car with the Asian
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, it's hit or miss.
Okay.
But you can those are a big thing in the game, just like the mono wire and stuff.
See,
And
I haven't seen either one of those.
yeah,
So
like the mono wire, and then there's the projectile, like the rocket projectiles that Maine has in his fists.
Yeah.
And like his arms. So
the game's so watered down, I don't know what's going on.
I mean, they're there. You just have to find them.
Yeah.
I know, like they do use them. Some of the cyber psychos use the mantis blades.
Yeah.
And then occasionally you'll fight somebody with them.
Yeah.
But they're like really expensive, if I remember correctly. So I don't think a lot of people have those upgrades.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sense. We find everybody finds out that David's gone as this is going on, and Maine and Kiwi go. I forget what they do, but they go off and do something. I'm not 100% sure what they do. I only remember that Lucy and Dorio go off together to go track down David. Yeah. At this point, do you remember what Maine and the Kiwi go off to do? Exactly.
Don't they go off and try and like find him or hack into a system where they can like find him via like
maybe
the internet?
I don't remember 100% where or what they do.
Because I know Lucy and Dario go after him and find him.
Yeah, they find and they show up, and Dario's like, "Are you sure? Like, you want to go do this?" And like Lucy's like, "Yeah, we're gonna get David back." And you see this like tonal shift in Lucy, and Dario senses it too. Like, oh, like they have some kind of connection that we don't know about. Well, they don't know about, but we know about. Yeah. We know that they've got it on a couple times.
Yeah.
They did the tango, one might say.
Yeah.
Yeah. To the tango.
Which we did find out that the first guy that we watched too was one of the original owners of the Sand Devastator, which is pretty cool to find out.
I forget what his name is, but which I thought you already knew that. I knew that.
I thought that's where his mom had gotten it from originally, but until it was said in this episode, it was more like I thought that, and it wasn't like a real thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was almost like I had a hypothesis that that's where it came from, but I wasn't like, yeah, that's for sure, like 100%. Like,
yeah, and so
where it came from.
They end up going after Jimmy, and David's like reliving all this horrible stuff, and he gets out of it, and Jimmy starts talking to him about like, oh, you know how we get these images and stuff, oh well, military grade cyberware actually have like recorders in them, so they can record everything that happens, and your stuff is being recorded too. You just didn't know that, and he starts talking about how like making of the brain dances and stuff like that. And then we get Dario and Lucy come in, and they basically bust in, and they're like, oh, Jimmy's like, oh, you're not going to hurt me. You're not going to hurt me, and he calls up these two bots, and they're like, oh, fucking shit. Like, where you got to deal with these drones.
Yeah.
Which
I did like this part where after they defeat the drones, he's like, all right, white flag, actual white flag, okay?
like actual white flag. Yeah, he was kind of fucking with them before.
Yeah, because they were his drones, and you're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. But I love this fight scene with David, because David gets out of it eventually. He gets out of the brain dance. It's David, Lucy, and Dario. Lucy's trying to hack these drones, and I love all the little details when she's trying to hack. I know it's probably all reused footage, like in that one little scene, they probably just reuse the same animation. But I love all the little like details of her trying to hack and stuff.
Yeah,
I just thought that was a really cool, like, intense scene because she had to sit there and like hack them.
Yeah,
and it was taking them a while because they were like quote, top of the line drones, and they were bulletproof too to bat.
yes.
You know,
It definitely makes me think about like whenever you're in the game and you scan a room and you're like, oh, I can scan that item. Oh, I can scan that item. Oh,
Yeah.
I can scan that item.
I can hack that item. I can hack that. I can make somebody. So I got the option to make people commit suicide the other day.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah. And I
Jesus.
used it on a cyber psycho.
Oh my gosh.
But it didn't kill him instantly. It just like took a chunk of health off of him.
You're like, committed part of that already, okay?
Yeah, they take a gun out and they just shoot themselves in the head.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's more of like a finisher.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know if I could finish off like lower level thugs with that, but
You'll have to try it and let me know.
and I did it through a camera, which I didn't know I could do,
Oh, that's crazy.
which was pretty cool. Yeah.
See, and I love it, like talking about the show and you and I playing, because the last time we were talking about it, like we were like, oh yeah, well let's try and do like the cyberware thing,
Yeah.
and so I've done that and I'm still only at like half of the meter where you can do stuff, and I'm like, okay, well now I got to see how to get my little bar to go up farther on how much cyberware you can have.
Yeah.
Because I've already gotten that other part where it's like, yeah, you can like max out your cyberware.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to move it up, but I don't have like a brick wall that stops me from being able to move it up.
So,
and it's funny, like your story, and then when you see a different option, you're like, I'm going to do that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. And so even though like our paths are kind of like going down the same road and going with the anime here and there, then we kind of have these weird like winding motions of where, even like little different things and how you fight and everything are all changed, and like how it complements the show.
Yeah. And so after they finish Jimmy, well, they don't finish him off, like he's still alive. Jimmy gets left with David, and they're talking and whatnot. And they're talking about brain dances and stuff like that, and they're basically trying to like, he's like, okay, I'll help you get Tanaka here. And so what they end up doing is basically getting Tanaka to show up. Jimmy basically betrays Tanaka. He's like, oh, my hands are tied, like they got me, And I love this scene where like Tanaka is just standing there, and like you have like big old Maine and Dario, and I think it's Lucy and David's there. Kiwi's not there. Yeah. And Tanaka's like, because Tanaka is the guy who is the father of the guy from like the first episode.
Yeah, the little asshole that's beat him up.
And he's like, I'm here for my brain. He's like, you guys don't know what you're talking about, and he like does a lot of the stuff that his son does, but he also has something where he has these like needle spike things that come out of his hands.
Yeah.
Which that's not in the game.
Not yet.
Not yet, but it's not in the game, I don't think.
Maybe it's somewhere in the game and we just haven't found it.
And he like basically like it kills people if they stab you or whatever. Yeah. And they end up taking out Tanaka, which is funny, like to see them like Maine's fighting them, and then like David comes in and like uses the Sand Devastator. He's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it's him."
Did we move on to episode 6?
Did we?
I feel like that.
No, this is episode 5 still.
Okay.
Yeah, because Jimmy ends up dying.
Yeah. Well, they have the little talking part where he tells him the Sand Devastator is going to be his undoing.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah,
because it was the other guy's undoing, and he brings up kind of like what we'll get into in the next episode / what we know, that the more chrome you have, the more it can basically wear on your mind and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I mean, we do get a little bit of that stuff / we have where he, not Jimmy,
Tanaka,
not Tanaka,
Maine,
David.
Yeah,
David's standing there, and like Jimmy has like a library of these Cyber Psycho tapes, and he pulls out one of them, which I think is number 28, of the last one of where the spine came from.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's the one. Cool. That's the one that David was watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they end up knocking out Tanaka, and turns out that Jimmy, our new friend Jimmy, when he died, he had Platinum Trauma Team services. So you don't want Trauma Team to show up because they'll kill you. And that's where our episode ends, is where they are taking Tanaka to a undisclosed location to basically dive into his brain to get the data. Yeah, is what they're going to do, and that's when we move on into episode 6. Do you want to take this?
Yeah, here in a second. So, I had a quick question for you. So, does it seem like the trauma team gets brought up more in the anime than what you actually see them in the game?
No, the trauma team's around.
Like, I've seen them where they've had their stuff like cordoned off, but I've never had a trauma team person like mess with me at all. And it seems like in the anime, there's just more of, we gotta get out of here, the trauma team's coming. I'm like, I've never had a trauma team person come at me.
I believe if you mess with the trauma team, they might go after you.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
I'm doing it.
I know the Max Tech people will go after you.
Yeah.
Which are supposedly the people who take on the Cyber Psychos.
Okay.
Yeah. I could be completely wrong because I don't honestly remember.
Who knows? We're getting there. You're replaying it.
But moving on to episode 6.
Episode 6.
Probably one of the best episodes.
Yeah. This is the Girl on Fire episode.
Yes.
So I actually like the beginning part of this because we kind of almost see it as Maine being like a long distance runner, and like skinny as all get out. Like,
yeah, he does not have any like artificial chrome or anything in his body
that we know of. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we kind of get a little bit of like his word motto is like, you got to keep going. You always got to do better. You got to do this, like, and so we kind of see that, and that's our first like representation, I feel like, of him going into cyber psychosis.
Yeah, because he's dreaming of that.
Yeah.
When he's talking to Dario, I believe.
Yeah. But he seems a lot more like sweaty in this episode, which is, I think, another sign.
Sweaty and more out of it.
Yes. And I like how they do it. Like, as he goes, like, you kind of get that little blurry thing that kind of happens.
Yeah.
But as that happens, like, we kind of did get that whole thing where they were talking about it before. / I think episode 5 was a really good thing for knowing that there was an episode coming up where shit was going to hit the fan. And I think this is that episode.
Yeah. For sure. Shit does hit the fan.
So I mean, you know, on top of that, like honestly, like it seems like Maine just really PMS is really bad. Like mood swings, we have the weird hallucinations, we have the blackout where, you know, he uh ended up hitting Kiwi and like didn't know. I mean, we have so much different stuff that pops up in this. And of course, you know, he's trying to like do some other stuff in life. And they've gotten Tanaka and he's wherever he is.
He's chained up and knocked out. Like they have him on like IV,
Yeah,
to like keep him knocked out.
but they don't necessarily like have him at least for like half the first episode or half
No,
the
he's
first.
there.
I mean, I know he's there, but it's not like they focus on him. We mostly
No.
focus on Maine and, you know, hey, can you dive into this Kiwi and,
Yeah.
you know, Dario. And this is our first glimpse of Falco, which is the guy that we get the jacket for in the game or from in the game.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a cool tie-in to actually get to see who Falco was.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, he looks like this British gent, you know,
Yeah.
handlebar mustache or whatever.
Yeah,
I was
and
like,
he starts to like
when he pops up, I'm like, this is going to be Mike's favorite character. Like just his look.
Well, he's not really in the show at this point that much.
Yeah,
We've always seen glimpses of him.
Just how he looks, I was like, he's going to be your favorite character. Just somehow because of the mustache.
Maine, he starts seeing things like you said. He gets a call from Faraday, who is their fixer on this job. He's like, you know, oh, we have had a setback, you know, this and that, you know, we got this. And like he kind of like blacks out and he just like destroys Kiwi.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he hits Kiwi, I think he hits Falco and he hits Dario.
And then Falco calls up Lucy and David. And they're like, you got to come over here. Shit's going down, basically.
Yeah.
Is what they say.
Yeah. Which, I mean, is a good thing because they were also trying to hack into it. And I think at this point, like, Kiwi was like the A-lister of doing that. And now they, you know, it's kind of, again, I think this episode is a pivotal episode where, like, Lucy takes that mantle as well as towards the end of this where David picks up the mantle. So.
But it also, like, it takes them a while to actually hack through all, like, the firmware and the firewalls and stuff like that.
Yes.
For, like Tanaka's stuff. And, like, Kiwi's, like, in the middle of it, and then she gets killed, basically.
Who does?
Kiwi does.
Kiwi gets knocked out, yeah.
No, Kiwi dies.
Spoiler. Kiwi doesn't die.
What do you mean she doesn't die?
Kiwi doesn't die.
Okay, fine then. Spoilers. I thought she died.
No, that's why I was like, I'm glad I've kind of watched the first 15 minutes of the next episode because I was like, you're saying she's died. I'm like, wait, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I did see her.
Okay, well, moving on from that revelation.
Yeah. But I can see how you thought that though, because I thought that, and then when I started like watching the first half of the other one, I was like, what the hell? How is she still here? I thought she was dead.
Which is funny, like we don't get Rebecca in any of these shows, even these episodes either. Like, where's Rebecca? You know.
No, we get her mentioned, I think, towards one of the ends, but that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she is out of it, but
yeah.
I mean, I guess that's a good thing because something could have happened to her character.
True.
We could have been down a lolly, Mike. We could have been
down.
Oh
man, we could have.
And then what about all those weird perverts out there that like lollies? And they would have been like, well, shoot, I can't listen to the Otakuology podcast this episode because Rebecca's gone.
Oh no, God forbid Rebecca dies.
Right.
You know? But yeah.
Say it ain't so, her brother just passed away.
So David and Lucy get there and they're like, you know, we gotta do this. And Lucy's like, you know, I'll do this, but Maine is not gonna be around.
Yes.
David's gonna be there to have my back. And Dario's like, okay, you know, that's fine. And Lucy, we get this really strong, like emotional scene where they're out in the hallway, and was before she agrees to it, and she's like, you know, tell me I can do this, David. Like,
Yeah.
and because David doesn't really understand, because like, why would they ask Lucy to do this? And we find out that she has the ability to like jack in. She has like a jack in port on the back of her neck, like Ghost in the Shell, basically.
Yes. That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
And he asked her about it. He's like, why do you have that? And I'm like, why wouldn't she? Like, you know, like the stuff that she already does is like 1/10 of what this is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and Maine keeps getting worse.
Maine does keep getting worse.
He keeps getting worse and worse.
And the police get there.
Yeah, the police get there, and Maine's like, you know, I don't know what's going on. You know, what's going on, Dario? Like, what happened to Kiwi? You know, and this and that.
Yeah,
and
which this and the thing, like, this is so sad to me. The thing with Dario and Maine happens almost at the same time, independently of the stuff happening with Lucy and David.
Yes,
and like you see like a clear divide of like when you have a good hand and when you have a bad hand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad. Like, this episode is really sad.
It is really sad. And so like Lucy ends up going in to try to get the information from Tanaka. David basically has to stay out there and make sure Tanaka doesn't wake up. And surprise, surprise, Tanaka wakes up, causing difficulties. And while like, because he like wakes up, I guess the trauma team or somebody, I think the police or something, I think it's the trauma team, finds where Tanaka is, and they start busting in, and Maine and Dario have to go after the trauma team. And this is where like Dario starts to, Maine starts to lose it, like really loses it.
Maine starts to lose it, and Tanaka starts going back on like the stuff that the headmaster was telling Tanaka to begin with, / telling David, like, hey, come back to school, you know, we'll do this, we'll do that. Like,
he's basically he was basically like, I'm the one who reinstated you to the school.
Yeah, we've always wanted you, David.
Yeah, he's like, because you're useful, you know, because you know you're unique of your abilities and stuff. And like, this is causing Lucy to have a really hard time in the in like the dive that she's doing, which Dario comes in, and basically Dario and Maine come in, but Maine basically slaps the shit out of David, and they like pump this stuff into Tanaka, and Tanaka's like chip blows up. I believe that was. Yeah, the chip in the back of his head blows up. Yeah, which I don't know if that kills him. I'm not for sure, 100%.
I'm not sure on that 100% either.
No, something else kills him, which is really funny. I remember now. And so they're like, okay, we got to get Lucy out of here. Lucy has the information, or whatever the information that they need to get. And so,
and isn't there something going on too where Tanaka's like brain or whatever like is almost like it's kind of able to like fight back against her and like try and like take her over?
It is because he's awake. When he's awake,
because I know Dario and David did that whole mad dash thing, like, hey, we got to get her out of here quick.
Yeah,
you know, like,
and they take her down into the to like the getaway car, because Maine tells David to get the getaway car and we're gonna get out of here. And that's when they're carrying Tanaka out, and Dario ends up getting shot in the head, which activates Maine's like cyber psycho like all the way through. And they're like, okay, you know, they're like, the trauma team's like, oh, we got to find the target. And Maine is carrying around this body, and he uses it as a weapon.
Oh, and it's Tanaka's body?
It's Tanaka's body. And we see like Tanaka's face like get splattered on like this wall. And it's unintentionally funny, I feel like, because one of the trauma team members is like, I found the target. The target is dead. And we see like his face just peel off this wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of funny. I don't know if that was intentional or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I thought it was just weird that the guy that shot Dario was on the floor, like,
yeah.
and he was like a regular old police officer, and then
because they were having like a shootout.
Yeah, Maine pulls out his big gun, and it's just like bam, and it's half the body gone. And you're like,
I think the police and trauma team are there at the same time.
Okay,
if I remember correctly. I think because they have a conversation with each other, like, the target's gone. We can leave now. So trauma team leaves, and the police are just there.
Yeah,
with Dario and Maine, and Maine goes crazy and makes a giant pyre out of like explosive containers and puts Dario's body on top of it, which he thinks he's actually putting her body on a bunch of pieces of wood, like a Viking's funeral.
Yeah.
But he's not.
Yeah.
And you want to take this part?
And then this is where David and Lucy get away, right?
No, that David goes back up to help Maine.
I feel like I missed this.
Yeah, he goes up to help Maine. And Maine's like, no, you can't help me. And he like blows up. He blows up the pyre of explosive like barrels or whatever. And as this is all happening, David kicks it into slow-mo and runs back down to the car. So that happens. And as this is all happening, before this all happened, David's like, I can help you, and Maine's like, no, I got this, go, nothing's gonna happen to me and whatnot. But yeah, Maine dies, and Dario dies. And Lucy is like, David, don't do this. Don't do this. There was no data. There was nothing there.
Yeah.
And David goes, obviously there was something there. I don't know what, but you saw something and you're not telling me what it is.
Yeah.
And David tells Lucy, hey, I need you to believe in me. And he runs off to help Maine. And then when he comes back, he has Maine's arm. And that's how the episode ends.
Okay, he's got both of his arms?
He has one of them, as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, what did you think of this episode?
There's a lot to unpack here.
Okay.
I mean, it's good. I would say that this episode probably is the most deserving of a 5 out of 5. Just episode 6 alone.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, between both of them, I mean, they were both fantastic. And just how everything, like, as far as we've watched, everything somehow gets tied together.
Yeah.
But no, I really think both of these episodes are probably actually the best episodes we've seen so far.
I have to agree with that as well. I do feel like these are some of the best episodes we've seen so far. There's a lot of character development with basically Lucy and David.
Yes.
At these points, they're very, very much their characters are being developed.
Yes.
And stuff. Yes. And I honestly thought that the crew was going to be around longer than it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't expecting Dario or Pilar or even Maine to die.
Right.
So it was such a surprise to me to, like, see them actually die.
Yeah.
In really gruesome ways to an extent,
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I was like, geez, like, I was kind of hoping they were around for much longer.
Yes.
Than what they were. But I mean, I guess, we can't really have them around, you know.
Yes.
But yeah, I like the action was good. I loved all like the information we got about the brain dances and how it could affect David. Will the San Davis Center affect David? You know,
Yes.
will
Right.
he become a cyber psycho like his friend?
Right.
You know, I mean, I would have to give these 2 episodes 5 out of 5. I
I agree.
thoroughly enjoyed them quite a bit.
I agree.
Like I you got to top this. I mean, and I will see if the rest of the series tops these 2 episodes because these 2 episodes are really emotional.
Right. Well, and I will say, going into the next one, like it is pretty good. It is pretty good. But everybody, you'll have to wait till the next episode to hear about that.
That's true. That is true. Which I'm looking forward to seeing us cover.
So, like I said, the only spoiler you get is that yes, Kiwi is still alive.
Wow, thanks for the spoilers.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the spoilers.
It was just a spoiler.
But we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Right.
Stay tuned, which will be Delicious in Dungeon. Don't ask me what number, because I don't remember what number it is.
I want to say 2122.
Maybe. I don't remember. But we will be doing that, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Stay safe.
We'll be 1/4 of the... When you guys hear this, we'll be at a third, but by the time we record the next one, we'll be at a fourth of the way done with this great series.
All right, we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
See you next Tuesday, guys.